We've asked you to kind of debunk kind of other bits of tech, like the wind might, or the opening your car keys might set off the other thing.
Yeah.
What are some ways you could easily debunk a Ouija board?
There's something called the ideomotor effect.
Ouija boards.
Yes.
What are they? Because growing up, my mum was quite liberal. She didn't tell me not to drink or do drugs, but she told me not to fucking mess with a Ouija board.
That's what you were saying. It's really strange. Like, I don't know if it's just because we're both from the same area of Norwich. That was something I was told as a kid. Don't do Ouija. I was like, I didn't have plans to. Why am I being warned off this random demonic board
Crack,
of the alphabet?
fine, Ouija board.
Well, as I said, we're from Norwich.
Well, my mum was from Watford and I got told the same thing. She was a skeptic. So I actually love them. I've used them more times than I've got hands and toes. No, I haven't opened doorways. Nothing's flown off. Nothing's half the time it's gibberish. I'm still open to it, again. I just think they're fun. But of course, they have such a reputation. There are paranormal teams out there that actually are anti-Ouija board because they think that a lot of the cases they take in are because people had fun, had a few drinks and used one and then opened up a portal. And now they've got all this stuff happening in their home and these teams having to go in and close everything down. But those teams tend to be more spiritually angled because there's teams that are very tech orientated. There's teams that are very mediumship orientated. Some are very into the history of cases and locations. So they kind of fall under the spiritual one. But I think Ouija's are great.
Yeah. Why are they called Ouijas?
Now, one of the theories, it's we as yes and ya. So yes, yes.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's what I've been told. So
Right.
yeah.
We've asked you to kind of debunk kind of other bits of tech, like the wind might, or the opening your car keys might set off the other thing.
Yeah.
What are some ways you could easily debunk a Ouija board?
There's something called the ideomotor effect. And what it is, it's involuntary movement. So you may not actually be consciously knowing that you're doing it. It's subconsciously, and it could be very minute movement in your fingers or in moving of your finger. That's why a lot of people, when they put one finger on it, it doesn't move. If there's two, it might. And it's just slight movement. And it's a thing that's a lot of skeptics actually use that as an explanation for it.
That's a bit, again, going back to the hypnotism when Robert got us to put our hands on our legs, and then he told us just by repeating words like stuck and like tight and stuff like that, I felt like I couldn't really get my hand off, but I kind of also knew I could get my hand off, if that makes sense. But it was like that weird, I wonder if that's a bit similar, like I don't want to push this cup, but I am pushing it.
It's interesting that he's used that subconsciously to stop that happening. And I think that you're right, probably kind of almost kind of grey area falling into what that particular thing is.
Right. Have you had any experiences with Ouija boards that are unexplainable to you?
I did an experiment in said TB hospital because we went there a couple of times. Loved it. And I walked down this great big dark hallway and obviously had my flashlight with me. There was a group at the other end with a Ouija board, and I would ask questions. They couldn't hear me, and then see if any answers came out. And firstly, it started to swear at me. So, oh, delightful, we've got a nice one here. So apparently it said F-U-C-K-O-F-F, and then it kept doing it again and again and again. I'm like, what's wrong? This says heathen. And I'll think, oh, you're putting down pagans now. That's not good. And literally, it was constant. But it was short, sharp movements like that, kind of like like quick movements, but very short, and they were just going quickly to each letter. And it's interesting where there's times when I've used a Ouija board before, and it's just nothing, or it's really slow. And so it's interesting when people say the energy changes on the board where it's something that's got quite a lot of strength behind it. So that was interesting.
You said that the Ouija board was like most of the time speaks gibberish.
Yes.
What about if that's their language?
Well, that's exactly right. If you're dealing with an entity apparently that was from 200 years ago, not everyone could read and write.
Yeah.
And
Or they're just Croatian.
Yes.
Exactly. When you're on these ghost hunt tours and stuff like that, can you talk us through some of the equipment that you use? Because we spoke about the rods there, and you spoke about the EMF.
Yes, EMF detector.
Yeah. What? Go through a list if you don't mind, and tell us some of the bits.
Yeah. It's all fun and whizzy stuff that lights up in the night because obviously, ghost hunters do it in the dark. So we've got something called a REM pod, which is a radiating electromagnetic pod, and basically it's a round disc looks like a round disc type thing. It's kind of like probably about 10 centimeters tall, and it has an antenna at the top, and that is constantly radiating a field. So if someone goes near it or something, it will sound off. And they light up as well. So the closer to the actual antenna it is, the higher the pitch, and the more colours around the lights at the base of it actually sound off.
Okay, and then with that one, what are some general ways that it would go off that can debunk its use?
So you mean in words like when it's what ways we use it? Are you saying? Or,
so
it's radiation, is it?
It's, I guess, radiating a field.
So could wind
field.
trigger it?
You know, when you switch your car alarm on and off.
Oh yeah.
Radio waves will switch it, and two ways as well. So two-way radios. A lot of investigators use them to keep in contact at night. That could set it off as well.
Would it go off with in Chernobyl? Is that like that kind of?
Well, I've been to Chernobyl.
Really?
Oh.
Yes, and I investigated the hospital.
Oh wow.
That was also part of one of the docos as well. So we were testing whether or not this equipment will work, or if there's an entity or spirits in a place that's had such high radiation. So
Did it?
Yeah, no.
So did it detect all the radiation that was still there, or was it just
no? Because it has to be. If that's the case, I'll be out the door, because
Right.
these things are not very sensitive. Well, you know, you literally have to practically sit on it for it to work.
So it wouldn't, like, if someone with cancer held it, it'd be
Yeah,
like,
no, yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not very sensitive at all. So yeah.
On a kind of like day-to-day basis, so someone calls you up and they book you for a job.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
So often it's they'll email about their experiences they're having. So either through the website or through the register as well. Also, I'm part of an organisation called the SPR, which is the Society of Psychical Research, and I'm part of one of the committees there as well. And then we kind of get together and we look at the information. Very rarely does it actually turn into a full-blown investigation. Very rarely. Because a lot of it can be explained. And a lot of it is people, we have new house syndrome, which is actually a thing where you first move into a home, you're not familiar with the sounds. And you think, oh my God, it's haunted. It's because you're still getting used to your environment. So there's things like that can be easily explained. It's not worth pulling all this information together and then actually spending months, but sometimes even years, to investigate a case that's not going to be of anything.
I see.
You don't think about the new house. I moved house a couple of months ago, and there's this proper annoying hum, but I've never gone,
She's called
got to be a
Ariane.
ghost.
Wow.
I'm joking. It's funny though, because when I moved into my house, I've told this story on the podcast. I woke up one day and I could hear this like rattling, and I was like, that's quite scary. It was like early in the morning, but I'm a YouTuber. I wake up late anyway. But it was like 8 in the morning. It was just like rattling, and I was like, didn't think anything of it. Went into my bathroom, and then there was like this orange glowing light at my bathroom window, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And then I opened my window, and my granddad, without telling me, had hired a JCB and was in my garden digging up the...
So that is explainable.
No, his granddad's been dead for years.
Oh.
That's you call me.
Yeah. It would have been awkward if I did call you and you came round and went, your granddad's in the garden.
Yeah.
In a JCB.
Trying to say hello, man.
So what when you say people get in touch with different things, what sort of things are they saying? Is it unexplained noises? Is it other stuff?
Often unexplained noises. Temperature drops is a big one. Hearing their voice, hearing their name called by a voice is a lot. But a lot of it is feelings. A lot of people, I feel like I'm being watched. I feel like something's trying to get a hold of me. A heap of them come from when people say they're seeing shadows at the corner of their eye. That's probably, for me, from the cases I've dealt with, probably the most common thing that people report when they feel their place is haunted.
And is that an easily explained thing, or is that something that you would be like to investigate?
Easily explainable. So it's like someone saying, I bumped my knee. Can you tell me what's wrong with it? It's like, well, there could be 60 different reasons why that knee's sore. It could be an existing condition beforehand. It could be something else. Like, doctors don't often just diagnose with just one thing. So it's a little bit like that. It's like there could be 50 different reasons why that person's seeing shadows on the corner of their eye.
That's quite good to hear from a skeptical point of view, because my brain pictures someone who does that job as just anyone calling and saying, there's noises. And straight away they're like, okay, I'm going to go earn some money and just tell them don't worry, I've got rid of the ghost. You're good to go.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice to hear that you turn away most people and go, no, you're fine.
You're not just turning out the kind of WD-40 doing the hinges and going, there we go, I think you'll find that sorted.
Or orbs don't get me started.
Yeah.